Hi, family. This is Charlotte, Pastor Caldwell, a pastor of 12 years, a student of sacred text for over 30 years. I told you I had to do a recount on that. But let's talk about this little text right here. It is true, and this is also in Proverbs. If you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. And many have been doing that for far too long and expecting something good or making it into something good. Now, Hosea deals with that time where the people of that country at that time literally were showing indifference to God. That's what this is about. Because, see, this is a God thing. And on a previous post, I tried to tell you how my cousin had a revelation around some of this text, that God did not stop things, God allowed it. It is because God will allow you to set yourself up for destruction. Unless there's a thorn in the flesh to make you temper yourself, not get the big head, so that pride does not come before destruction and haughtiness before a fall. Now, this is the thing about this. It's called divine retribution. Divine retribution. We are witnessing the setup for divine retribution. And it's not going to be pretty. And I have told you many times that this is going to end just like this. The things that are being done to the American people is going to end like this. But there are so many lessons for so many to learn. As I saw the footage that Tabitha put up of the young Latino ladies calling the African American officer the N-word. So you want to keep just sowing that wind, do you? I don't think you do. No one has the right to call an African descendant person in this country that. If you're not in our community, forget it. Do not say it. You do not have permission. She also posted another young lady that was talking about, because she was a ginger, she could say the word. Divine retribution is what you're going to get. So when you sow the wind, that means you use that sacred breath and ashe, God energy of who you are, and you sow it and form it into something that is directly against God. It's directly against God. That is what is happening in our country right now. Things have been sown for years and years and years. After the Civil War, no, they were not going to allow, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me. They were not going to allow African descendant people to join the human family in a way that gave them voice and place. Promises made, none ever kept. Promises made, but none ever kept. So they continue to sow the wind, sow the wind, sow the wind, time after time. When you have a chance to make a different choice, make a different choice, make a different decision. Even in the religion, make a different choice, make a different decision. Do not treat women that way. Do not treat African Americans that way. Do not treat the same-sex loving community in that way. But no, a choice has been made. A choice has been made to sow the wind, to sow the wind. And now the whirlwind is upon us. Oh, it's coming. Have no doubt. It is coming. I know, because pride comes before destruction and haughtiness before a fall. But this divine retribution, see, you're not going to say African descendant people did this to us. And my daughter was saying she was on something on Instagram and they were talking about how, Black men have ruined their lives. I was like, where are they living? The things I've seen done to my brothers. I'm married to a Black man. And if you knew the things that have been done to my husband, for example, he worked at a company for 20 years, pretty much the same people. And one night they had to work late. I think it was during all that 1999 stuff. And he was in IT, and they're making sure none of the systems go down, things like that. And it's maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's just he and another lady left. a Caucasian lady who he had worked with for years. My husband is one of the sweetest people. Y'all know he has to be to put up with me, right? And they get on the elevator and she's clutching her purse and shaking. She is literally afraid. Of what? He didn't want her. He didn't want what she had in her purse. That was sowing the wind. She had no reason other than the things that had been sown in her about Black men, wanting white women, and always essaying, let me make sure I get this right, essaying Caucasian women. It was foolishness. And my husband's feelings were hurt. Black men have never done anything to you, ever. But this right here, they planted the wind and will harvest the whirlwind. The stalks of grain wither and produce nothing to eat. Talking about the farmers. And even if there is any grain, foreigners will eat it. See, this is getting around that time when they get stripped and pulled into captivity and become slaves of Babylon. Because the offense, they offended God. You know, I can offend people at times and things like that, but I never want to be an offense to God. You have offended God, America. You have offended the one. You say that one nation under God. Are you really? You have offended God. So now divine retribution is in play. God didn't come down and say, now y'all stop. Don't do that during the election. Let things be what they are. God allowed you to do what you did in that election so that you would set yourself up for the divine retribution that is coming. And it's coming in full force and in your face, and not just to, the Caucasian community. Because see, my Latino brothers and sisters could have made a different choice too. But because you choose to think something's wrong with us. See, you've been taught and trained and socialized to believe that as well. Well, we're just trying to live our Black lives and stay above and recognize where oppression is and marginalization, figure out how to get around it so our family can grow and have food and have a place to live. But you will blame your poverty on us. You will blame your homelessness on us when we're out there trying to make sure our families aren't homeless and without food. But we have never blamed our homelessness on you. Poverty on you. Even though your system was set up in a way to make sure it happened to us. This is for entertainment purposes only. Let me say that. I don't want to get into trouble on my channel. So the thing is, you've had an indifference to God, and that way bringing enmity, forgetfulness of duty or truth, becoming violent. See, that enmity that's starting to happen between our country and God is quite evident. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it. And that need to want to cause destruction and then voice, this is not what I voted for, but oh, baby, it is. You were sowing the wind, and now that you're reaping the whirlwind, this isn't what I thought. Well, guess what? Anytime you think to bring hurt and harm to any community, what do you think you're sowing? I didn't think this would happen. Well, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think you would get to sit back on the evening news and watch Black people get hurt and harmed or come out and protest? You thought that would bring us into the streets and we would protest and you could see them do all type of things to us? Is that what you thought? You were just going to keep on living the way you were living when you voted against the way you were living, in hopes that it was only going to happen to someone else. See, you planted the wind and will harvest the whirlwind. The whirlwind is one of those things that goes through and it starts grabbing up everything in sight. It's just great. And it just takes it and slings it like the trash it is. that be your attitude sometimes toward Black and brown people. But the most important thing that's going to get checked is that attitude of brown people toward Black people. And I truly pray, that the Latino community, that you get it together. We've never done anything but march, protest, and open the gateway for you to come into this country, not to be against us, but to stand with us. Because we've stood with everyone. We've stood with women's rights. We've stood with Latino rights. We've stood with the Palestinians. We've stood and we've taken a stance with you so many times. And the one time God says, sit it down and shut it up, you mad at us. We've been sowing peace. We've been sowing harmony, bringing people together. I know all the reports are going to tell you Black people are nothing but criminals, and we are not. We are not. You only have to go look at actual statistics of criminals and criminality that happens in various communities to see who's at the top of the list, and it's not us. You know why it's not us? I can hardly go in the grocery store after going there for years and someone not follow me and treat me like I'm about to steal their cheap stuff. I go down the highway, little old lady me, I'm the one to get pulled over, police officers all around me because they think I'm driving drunk, and I'm just older now and can't see at night. That's all it is. I could tell they were a little disappointed that night. They thought they had a sister they could snatch out of the car and handcuff and rough up. See, I'm not sowing the wind. I'm not expecting to reap the whirlwind. Yeah, I want you to get a good look at it over there. You see that? It just comes down, and as it's going across, it's just picking up stuff and throwing it. So when I see people crying because they're losing their farms, and yes, my heart breaks, but I did not sow the wind. You did. You sowed the wind. And now you have to understand what divine retribution is, because Black people aren't going to do this to you. God is. God allowed you space and place to make different decisions for generations. But would you make them know? You would teach your children to be exactly like you. We know that because we went to school with your children and we were fine. We played sports together. We were cheerleaders together. We did all those things, went to college together. And now even your children are willing to treat us as if they were born back in 1687 and okay with laws from that time being enacted as well. See, this has gone on for a long, long time. It has. Divine retribution. But I don't think it's just going to happen in America, which is why I get disappointed at the attitude of the Palestinians here in this country. God is watching. You know what? Everything that's going on in Gaza, if God didn't stop it, God allowed it. I'm going to apply that. Yeah, I am. If God didn't stop it, God allowed it. Why? Who was sowing the wind among your community and in your community? Who was sowing the wind that now you have reaped the whirlwind, and it has been horrible. It has been the storm of storms in your community. But what did you do here in America, sitting in freedom, sitting in other countries free and comfortable, not worried about people bombing you and things like that? What did you do? You started to attack the African American people for no reason. Divine retribution is happening. And there is no one to stop it. There is no president, no congressional rep, no senatorial rep. There is no one to stop this retribution that is coming, because it did not stop it back in ancient times, and it won't stop it now. We talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, and I know European theologians have made that about same sex. It is not. It was about how they treated strangers. It was about how they would fillet people and put them on the wall and display them. after they did whatever they wanted to do to them. It's about that. The problem is you have indifference and enmity with God. America, you have been juxtaposed to God for far too long, far, far, far too long. And what is coming is not for your destruction, but for your correction. Go read and see what the Whirlwind does. Go on over to Chat GPT and ask what kind of damage can the whirlwind do, and then think about how that happens in your life. Have you ever had a whirlwind come through your life? I know I have. Because one time I valued material possessions above anything, and it became an offense to God. And I had my dream car and I was doing all these things. And, I didn't feel like, I was anything unless I was sitting in my car, and divine retribution came for me, baby. They repoed my car and the payments were up to date. I said, wait a minute. God said, I hate that car because you have put that car above me. You have met that car has made you feel like something that's, successful and above, when I am the one who have made you successful. I am the one who has been the lifter of your head. America, God has been the one that has been the lifter of your head, not you. God has been the one that's taken a little 250-year-old country and made something out of nothing. And you want to mistreat the very people that were drugged to the shores that made it possible. Because I'm not sure without us, you could have done it. Latino community, you come in here on the backs of the work we did for civil rights and getting through Jim Crow, and you have no better sense than to sit there and over again call an officer the N-word. You're sowing the wind. There will be no protection from the whirlwind to come. You sowed the wind so much so you did a whole song. If I knew how to do it, I'd put Tabitha up dancing to it. Dun, 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 dun. I would put her up dancing to the song. Palestinians, even here, sitting in freedom and comfort, you chose to sow the wind. Now you're reaping the whirlwind. Now they're not even considering a two-state option for your people. You did that. African descended people didn't do that. We just won't get in your mess. We won't get in your mess. We will not. Because see, those who have not been an offense to God were given instructions in the spirit, even though some lived in California, some lived up in Maine and in Georgia, Louisiana. We all got the same word at the same time. Sit down. We got it. We got it. And everything has been to try to remove us. We knew, God told us, they want to hurt and harm you. You don't want further retribution on top of what is about to come by doing more hurt and harm to African descended bodies. You don't want none of that smoke. And God is the one that's going to bring the smoke. As my friend puts it, a two-piece and a biscuit. How about that? And it is coming. And when you least expect it, you're going to see all of this just be dismantled and undone, because it's ungodly what has been done. Yeah, the forefathers, they wrote some things. I don't even think they knew what they were doing. One nation under God, you're going to be under God indeed. And you're going to act like you have some sense. Like my grandmother used to say, we're going to go into the store. You're going to shut your mouth. You're not going to touch anything. And you're going to act like you have some sense, or you're going to wish you had. And I never wanted her divine retribution. Let me just tell you, she was my grandma and she raised me, but she was not a weak woman. She was a strong African descended woman who knew what it took for me to survive and thrive in this system that seems to always want to sit on African descended women and men and then call them nothing, even after we give you the most brilliant created things in this country. Give no credit for it. Or if we do, you want to come in and we get a patent and you want to wait long enough till that patent expires and you steal the intellectual property. You're still doing it. That's why Alexa and everything else is up in the house. You want to take all of that property. But as my daughter put it, AI doesn't know anything unless I tell AI. They can generate all of these musical things. And in fact, she was talking about a Black artist that created the first AI label. And she said, after all the gifted abilities he's been given, that's what he's going to do. He will go hire and contract a computer and not a human being. She said, yeah, there'll come a day. They'll have all their AI stuff and all the little small mom and pop places where somebody's just singing. Yeah, they just singing. People are going to flock to that because they want to hear live human beings with the breath of God in them. AI has no breath of God in it at all. So remember, go look this up, Hosea, and you'll see all the things that were going on from the politicians to the religious leaders. They had set themselves up. God sat back, allowed all of their foolishness to continue and set themselves up for divine retribution because they were at odds with God. They had got in God's face and lied. They had been indifferent to anything that had to do with God, giving, president over this and that. Oh no, we want the things. We want to be the country that's in union and we're going to help. And God's like, no, I didn't tell you to do that. I told you I have your back. Well, as I sit with my 92% and 80, God has our back. You can throw the N-word day and night. We don't care. It just shows God more of who you are and your inability to act humanly and to treat people like human beings. I didn't see you go get in any of the Caucasian officers' faces and do that. Yeah, you would have caught a rubber bullet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just saying. So your indifference to God is becoming enmity between you and the God you claim to serve and to know. Even sitting in the churches, the foolishness that have gone on. You've sown the wind, you will reap the whirlwind. Yeah, I know that's a hard one to hear, but it ain't got nothing to do with me. It just doesn't. We know our place with God, that space and place. We've been enjoying creating content and doing things. And even some of the media, social media channels. I did a stitch yesterday with Tabitha. They muted it. Nothing wrong with what she's saying, but you get other things that are on social media and they're saying the N-word and they're saying all type of ugly things. Never mute it. So social media, you too can keep sowing the wind. You're going to reap the whirlwind too. Because faces that look like this put you on the map. But you choose to be cruel to us. And then if there's a Caucasian brother or sister that's coming and they're giving truth, you do the same thing to them. What you think you're going to get? Keep watching this country, watching this space, because we're about to see what it is going to cost America for real to be at enmity with God. See, you haven't offended Black people, you have offended God. You haven't offended Europe. No, you've offended God. You haven't offended the continent of Africa. You have offended God by being willing to not do justice and not to act kindly and not to take care of widows and orphans and the strangers. That you have offended God. That's what you've done. And now, the great law of divine retribution has stepped onto the scene. Who's going to tell God to sit down? Somebody tell me. Who's going to tell God, not today, boo, what you're not going to do? Who's going to tell God that? Not a soul. So here we go. Hear me. Here we go. Things are about to happen in ways and behind the scenes. I'll tell you how you can know. Go watch, I think it's Madagascar, Libby from Down Under. You can watch Ellie, Lady G, Linda, the Comanche mystic. You can watch a Whimsy. Go watch some of these mystics, baby. It ain't no secret what God will do. It is no secret what God will do. What he's done for others, he'll do for you. But what you don't get is what correction he's done for others, he'll do that same correcting to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here we go. Y'all ready? Be ready. Be ready, family. Be ready. Because when the retribution comes, you guess what happens? Right attitudes, right minds, kindness. The Israel that went into Babylon was not the Israel that came out. Just saying. Just saying. Oh, they tightened all that up. That's how you have all of the synagogues. Because initially they focused on nothing but the temple. And as long as we go there, the presence of God is there and we can give an offering and we can do this and that. And then we could go down the road and continue our lying, racist, hateful ways. God said, y'all got me twisted. Yeah, you just do. All right, guys, check out Hosea. Hosea, yeah, God has him laid on thick. And then understand the whirlwind to come. This is Charlotte, Pastor Caldwell, again, a pastor of 12 years, a student of sacred text for over 30. Like and subscribe. I will see you the next time.